I think that the least kind people deserve the most empathy. And I realize the controversy in that statement. And so I want to sit with that for a moment and kind of explain what I mean by that. Because I really am saying that I think mean and unkind and rude and bad people deserve empathy, or at least I want to think that way. I know I'm not perfect, and I know that I have lived a life where I'm quick to judge and quick to look at someone that is not nice and say, why should I forgive this person? Why should I empathize with them? And I'm realizing now that I would rather find the strength to understand that person and to know where they're coming from. And I think it's really important when I say this that I make it clear that I'm not saying that you need to excuse bad behavior or excuse wrongdoing. I think that empathy is different from giving someone a pass and saying that what they did was okay and that they should keep doing it. I think you can empathize with someone even if they've done something wrong or done something that you disagree with. And I think when I say empathy, I'm looking at it as like recognizing what took place and what had to happen to result in this person acting in this particular way. And so I personally believe that we as people are not inherently evil or inherently one way or the other. I think it almost has entirely everything to do with who you interact with, how you were raised, the culture you were brought up in, and those constant kind of sociocultural influences. I think it has everything to do with that. You can't look at your life in a vacuum. You have to recognize how one moment impacted your actions and decisions in the next, and how that continued and it builds on each other. And so I do think it's a butterfly effect in that like the person I am today is in fact the result of things that I've said and done, 10 years ago. And I know it seems kind of out there, really far out there to say that, but I think it's true. And so when I say to empathize with someone, it's saying, look, this person's human. This person has maybe grown up in a different way from me. They've been raised a different way than me. They've been taught to think a different way than me. And that may be why they're acting a certain way. And maybe what they did didn't align with my morals. And you might be able to say, I think this person did something wrong to me or to someone else. And that's okay. And you should hold those people accountable and educate them on, like, hey, you may not have realized what you did is wrong because of the factors I just discussed, but I'm going to tell you it is. And that person hopefully will listen and try to grow from that. But I think it's important to have that base level of empathy. And again, to clarify, I don't think you should let yourself get walked over, because if you're in the situation where you're attempting to educate someone or help them out and they refuse, then I would say it's no longer your problem, because there's only so much that you as an individual can do to support someone in growing as a person. It's not really your responsibility to try and change them in every possible way, but you can help them at the beginning and you can inform them of, hey, this could be better. And that's what I mean by the base level empathy. The reason I say the most unkind, the meanest people, is because a lot of times those people, as I've already said, I don't think people are inherently bad. They've experienced something or are going through something that leads them to act that way. That person did not wake up that day and say, I want to be an asshole, or I want to be mean, I want to be rude. But whatever it is that they've dealt with or are actively dealing with has led them to do that. And so, to me, if you want to claim to be an empathetic person, you can't have selective empathy. You can't be like, I only care or want to sympathize with this person or people in general just because they seem like they're a generally good person. Because to me, a lot of the times, I'm sure there's exceptions. So, yeah, but a lot of the times, the people that are very rude and irritable and maybe frustrating to work or deal with, a lot of the times have a lot that they are internally dealing with that they may not even themselves recognize. And so, again, I don't think you should be like a savior for everyone in your life. You don't have to be taking on the responsibility of psychoanalyzing someone and understanding where that hurt is coming from. But I think having just a baseline of empathy saves you a lot of pain, because if someone's rude to you, instead of internalizing and saying this person's a bad person and they were trying to hurt me or trying to, harm me or someone else that I know, you can step back and say, they have something they're dealing with. They have something they're struggling with, something they have struggled with, and that's why they did what they did. And it's not my problem to understand the depth of that, but to recognize like it's not anything about me and has more to do with them. And I think that's really important for your own sanity, because if you villainize people and say they were intentionally trying to hurt me, I mean, maybe someone was, and then that's a different story. But if your gut reaction to someone doing something wrong is they're, oh, I'm going to villainize them and say they're a terrible person, I think that's really draining on like your, like, honestly, your soul. It's not fun to walk around every day thinking that people are bad and people are out to get you. And I think it actually is, once you find the strength to really have that empathy, it'll be kind of freeing. And that's something that I think is more of a hypothetical and more of a belief, because I'm obviously not at that point. And it's something that I want to be at, is to look at everyone and the world and say, I see you and I see the humanity in you and want to understand you and try to work with you as much as I possibly can. I think that's just a really important discussion to have, because I think a lot of people don't have that. They look at empathy as like a privilege rather than a right. And I don't think that's okay. I'm realizing for so much of my life that that's how I viewed empathy, because that's how I was taught it. But now I'm realizing that I don't know if that is the life I want to live. I would rather live my life seeing the good in people, because I think there is always good in people, no matter how small it might be. I think there is. And I think it's a lot just better for the psyche and also for the betterment of this world to start looking at people in that way.